Welcome, you juicy French fried frog legs, to Geek Salad's retro movie reviews from the Geek Salad Podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Katherine.
Yes, we have Katherine joining us because we need our resident Muppet expert for Muppet Month, which is, new year, new month, new topic. We are taking the month of January, and we are going to be reviewing a whole bunch of Muppet movies, starting with one that I am shocked that we have never covered on as a standalone review before, and that is 1979's The Muppet Movie.
I thought we had, honestly.
I did too. I mean, we've had Muppet conversations before. We've talked the movies before. We talked about the movies before on the podcast. So, but now we can actually spend a little time and just give the Muppet Movie its due attention.
Mm-hmm. Rightfully so too.
So. It's always so welcome to be able to just go back and watch this one.
Oh yeah, I watched it last night.
Yeah, I still think it's my favorite out of all the Muppet movies. I think it's
stellar.
I love it a lot. I think I might prefer Muppet Christmas Carol just a little bit more.
Okay, I feel like that one, because it's a different style of story. It's telling a different story.
Yeah, I think that's why, because like this one, because of kind of like the nature of what it is, the pacing felt it felt like Kermit, just like he walks into El Sleazo and, hey, there's Fuzzy, you want to come with me? Okay. And they run into Gonzo. Hey, you want to come with us? Okay.
Yeah.
And but you forgive it because it's the Muppets, and even Kermit right at the beginning says, when Robin asks him, is this how the Muppets really got together? He's like, more or less.
It's sort of kind of how it happened.
Yeah. So, because of that, the story, I love the story, but because Christmas Carol is more of a more established story and more kind of almost better paced, I kind of prefer that one a little bit more.
And it's fair. I almost kind of feel like, in comparing Muppet movies, Muppet Christmas Carol almost shouldn't be compared to any of the others because it stands alone in its own thing. Because it's, for some odd reason, I'll give Muppet Christmas Carol that type of sanctuary status that I wouldn't give Muppet Treasure Island.
It's been
also based on classic literature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also, it's the first Muppet movie that they did after the Disney bought the Muppets, after Jim Henson and Richard Hunt had passed. So it's a very different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was something about this movie that I love, and I think out of the three of us, I'm the only one who saw this in the movie theater.
Yeah, no, I was.
You definitely did not see it, Katherine.
No.
I have no idea if I saw it in theaters.
Okay.
On the first run.
I just remember this movie standing out to me because it was at the old Showcase Cinema in Framingham, Massachusetts, like the old one.
Yep, the one at the Shoppers World.
Shoppers World, yeah. Yep. And it's just like there's just something about the way it's filmed, and it's just the late 70s-ness of the entire movie, from the poster to the songs to the cameos.
Yep.
It was like just this perfect storm of things that happened, and it's a movie that could have only been made in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to be very different if they were to do it at any other time. It was definitely of its time, and that was kind of the point.
Yeah. It's also funny too because I just remember I was only familiar with Orson Welles at the time as being the spokesperson for Julio Gallo wine. So I was just waiting for him to say that we will sell no wine before its time, and it never happened.
I was waiting to talk about these rosebud frozen peas full of country goodness and green penis.
Wait, that sounded terrible. Let's do that again. I can't work like this. I'll take a few of these for the road, thank you. There's just... So, I mean, out of the gate, my favorite Muppet song of all time.
Oh.
Out of the goddamn gate. That is like getting into your first professional ball game and hitting a grand slam at your first at bat. That is.
Well, they wanted to establish that this was not going to be just a bigger, longer version of the Muppet Show. They were going to do something very different. So they've got the big helicopter shot going over the cypress trees, going into the swamp.
That's a gorgeous shot.
Yep. They were making a statement. Yeah. Lord Lou Grade gave them the money after the second. Well, he was funding the Muppet Show, and after the second season was proving that they really had something, he was like, "Okay, yep, I'll fund the movie."
Yeah.
And of course, Orson Welles' character of Lou Lord is based on Lou Grade.
Lou Grade, yeah. I also enjoyed too how they made it work because it was kind of something to see Kermit sitting on the log playing the banjo, and you don't see him until the middle of the second verse.
Yeah.
So I think that they did a really good job of shortening scenes where they knew that they couldn't establish that scene for too long. Between that and the bicycle riding, the very next scene, the bicycle riding, it's a short scene because they don't want people looking to the strings.
That's part of it, and also like they had to because it's all puppets and they have to like plan around keeping the humans hidden and the strings hidden. They have to they didn't do any post-production or anything to hide anything.
Yeah.
So like every shot was planned out before they filmed, kind of like an animated movie. They can't just be like, we're going to do a big master shot back here, and then we're going to have all the, and then do up the close-ups and that sort of thing. They had to have it all planned in advance. And for the stuff in the swamp, Jim Henson's in a tin can under the log, reaching his arm up through a rubber sleeve.
Yeah.
And they could in between takes, they would send a little bit of iced tea down his way to keep him hydrated, and they had people on set ready to rescue him if something went horribly wrong.
I mean, for a movie that's a little over 90 minutes, 90,
it's 95 minutes long,
and apparently the shooting was 87 days. So they were basically doing a minute of screen time was a full day of shooting.
Yep, exactly right.
That just the amount of work needed to do in this, which explains why Jim Frawley, explains why he was apparently not great to deal with.
Not a fun time on the set, and that's why they never, any other Muppet production never had a non-Muppet person directing.
Yeah,
right.
They did that once and went, this doesn't work. They don't understand what we need and how we do things.
Yeah, Austin. I think there was an interview with Austin Pendleton, the guy who played Max.
Yeah.
And he said that it was just a kind of a nightmare on the set. He's like, apparently on all the other movies they had a really fun time because they were all getting along. So I kind of want to be in those movies.
Yeah, it's really too bad that that happened, but you can't tell. The movie does not carry any of that energy out of it.
No, exactly. And I like that the human actors kind of get the assignment as well. They look like they're Charles Durning is definitely digging his teeth into the role of Doc Hopper. All
he's missing is the mustache.
Yeah. Pretty much all the cameos pretty much had been on the show. Yeah. So they'd already been there and done that. They knew what was going on. There's a few that maybe hadn't been, but
yeah.
I know the big get for Jim Henson was Edgar Bergen.
Well, they already had him on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had been on the show. He died. The reason why there's a memoriam for him at the end is because he died shortly after filming his scenes.
Yeah. I didn't realize he was on the show. I thought they were on the.
Oh golly, no! You have to go watch the episode then.
Oh.
Yeah. They got both Edgar Bergen and Candice Bergen on the show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Go back and rewatch that season. That season must be season 4 or 5.
And her brother, Charlie McCarthy, because that was the thing that Bergen household.
Yeah, but he was on the same episode as Edgar.
Yeah. It's always funny seeing that puppet too and being like, people found this thing entertaining.
Well, he did, Edgar Bergen did really well in radio as a ventriloquist, so there you go.
Yeah, it was interesting rewatching this one. I could see his mouth moving.
Yeah.
in like that just kind of like slightly open mouth way that all ventriloquists work.
Yeah, and he's yeah, like I think he probably did vaudeville too, but you're on a stage away from the audience, so
Yeah.
and then he was
Right.
on the radio.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. Yeah, let's take a second to talk about the cameos. I was messaging Mike this as I was watching the movie that the scene at the El Slizo might be the best use of multiple cameos in film history.
Yep.
Every
I mean-
character who, except for like I think the fat sailor, and I still think that the fat sailor was oh god, I can't think of his name now. He actually appeared on an episode of season 1 of the Muppets.
Honestly, I kind of thought he was Lou Albano.
Yeah, no. Oh god, Avery Schreiber.
It's possible. He does kind of look like Avery Schreiber now
Yeah.
that you mention it, but I'd have to look it up. But he's not mentioned in the cameo list, so
Yeah, but I mean, you've got James Coburn at the very
right off the bat, you got James Coburn like thrown out of the.
yeah.
Well, and that's a great bit too, because James Coburn is a notorious Hollywood tough guy.
Yep.
And he gets kicked out of his own bar.
Why don't you complain to the owner?
I am the
owner.
You have Madeline Kahn. You have Telly Savalas with that hilariously awful beret. You've got Carol Kane as Myth.
Paul Williams.
Paul Williams. Actually, James Frawley, the director, makes an appearance. He's the
Yes.
he's the waiter.
Oh, okay. I'm pretty sure the tough biker is Frank Oz.
Okay.
Yes, I knew Frank Oz was in there somewhere. I just didn't recognize him.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I think that was it for all the cameos. Between that and the fair, they did a really good job.
Yeah.
With the giving them enough to do.
Yep.
But not too much where it was overwhelming to the story.
Well, I mean, we also got like Dom DeLuise as Bernie.
Yep.
If ever their 70s cameo came a calling, Dom DeLuise was there to answer the call.
His episode of the Muppet Show is also very silly.
Yeah.
Milton Berle as Madman Moody.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So funny story about Milton Berle. So I've been reading this. It's called SNL One a Day. It's a blog of this person who is reviewing every episode of Saturday Night Live. And I started from the very beginning. And in season 4, Milton Berle hosts one of the notoriously worst episodes they ever did. Like, he was never asked back until they started rerunning them, like through VH1. They never re-aired any of his stuff. So that's what was sticking in my mind as I'm watching this, is just what a terrible SNL host he was, because he didn't get the... He not only didn't he not get the jokes, he felt like he was above everybody in the cast.
Which I actually quite like his Muppet Show episode though.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah,
because I think it's because he's got a vaudeville background, and the Muppet Show is doing very much the vaudeville flavor, and they're very they also treated all of their guests very well. That's why they all of them were willing to come back and do the movies, and people
we'll
would
fly out to London. You can do all this stuff.
Yep.
For the benefit of shooting in London.
And for Milton Berle to tell jokes and then have to fend off Statler and Waldorf. That says something a lot about him.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I liked the introduction of all the characters. I especially like I feel like this is the first time that they established that Gonzo and Camilla were an actual couple.
Yeah, they kind of played around with it. The whole chicken thing was just something that happened on the set one day when Gonzo was auditioning Dancing Chickens, and they brought in live chickens on set. And Dave Goelz just ad-libbed a line where he turned to the camera and goes, she's not a great dancer. Nice legs though. And that was where the whole chicken thing began.
That's really interesting.
I think out of all of the introductions, the only one that I'm was Miss Piggy.
Yeah,
that's also accompanied by, for me, the worst song of the movie.
It's the only thing that holds that song up is its montage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's overpowering Kermit in all of these little romantic interstitials I think it's hilarious. It's interesting too because after, as a kid watching the show, Kermit never really showed any interest in Piggy. So having him show interest in her in the movie was kind of odd.
Yeah, like they had a very strange relationship on the show where, she was pursuing him, but part of it was probably for her career,
Yeah.
and he wasn't interested, but the minute she showed interest in one of the male guest stars, he'd get jealous.
Yeah.
And so it was all like weird, messed up stuff going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's not a nice person. I don't like her.
No, and even in the movie, she ditches Kermit to, answer a call for her agent.
Yeah.
And ends up on the side of the road. So it's
that, Miss Piggy is a weird one because you don't like her, but you need to have her there.
Yeah.
She fills in a role that you absolutely need in the Muppet Show. You need that diva.
The beauty of it being almost 50 years old at this point is that you can't imagine a Muppets without her.
Yeah.
Right.
Even though she does tend to be one of the most annoying characters on the show, I will say every time they do that cut when she's fighting off all the goons and they do the cut, she turns around and her eyes are like bugging out. It is one of the best shots in the entire movie. And the fact that they leave that in there for the entire fight scene.
Mm.
It's also weird too, because I've always felt like watching the Muppets, I never feel like I'm watching puppets. I feel like I'm watching living, breathing characters who just happen to be made of felt and have marbles for, like ping pong balls for eyes. But there was a scene in that fight scene where she jumps off of the rafters and she looked like a toy.
Yep.
And that is best shot in the movie accompanied by the worst shot in the movie.
I don't know about the best shot in the movie, but yeah, it is a little bit awkward. They were still working on things like adding weight.
Yeah.
And making them...
I will say about that scene though, growing up, when I remember one of the first times I ever watched that scene, Mel Brooks' character scared the shit out of me. That whole scene, the Electro, was like, I don't want to watch the show anymore.
Yeah, I remember being scared of that, I think. But
I was scared of it too, and then I realized who Mel Brooks was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you're older, you can appreciate the goofiness of what he's doing because it's just scary at the time, but like you watch him tonguing the machine and you're like, this is just goopers.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to reach the switch. It's like this far away from you.
I must switch the switch. I must switch anytime I'm in a video game and I have to like go around throwing switches and stuff in order to unlock a puzzle. I'm just like, I must switch the switch.
I do find it interesting too that it's like they gave Mel Brooks the freedom to essentially play a Nazi scientist in a Muppet movie.
Yep.
Well, I mean, they actually apparently they gave Paul Williams complete freedom to do music.
Yeah.
I read that he actually asked Jim, like, do you want to hear this while we're writing him? He's like, no, I'll hear it when we record it. I have faith in you. And Paul Williams is like, I've never had that much freedom to do music before. They had that much faith in him.
It's really interesting because, we talked about Muppet Christmas Carol, and I didn't know this until I listened to M from Verbal Diorama talk about this, that Paul Williams essentially wrote the music for Muppet Christmas Carol because not only was it about loss of a good friend, Jim Henson, but also of redemption and recovery because he had just gotten out of rehab.
Oh yeah. When I was at D23 last year, we went to that Muppet Christmas Carol panel. Paul Williams was out there and he was talking about like how he had just gotten out of like drugs and alcohol. He was finally turning around. He found some religion, and like writing music for Christmas Carol was really kind of his way of coming to terms with all that.
Yeah, but I mean, again,
Paul Williams did the music for Emmett Otter, right? So
I believe he did.
So they already knew what he would do.
Yeah.
So they had reason to trust him because they'd worked with him before. Like he'd done stuff with them.
Well, he also appeared on I think a season 1 episode of the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
So he was a big friend to.
And the Muppet they gave him was about the same size as him.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not a tall man at all.
No, he's not.
I'm looking up right now to see what song Rainbow Connection lost the Oscar to, because I know it was nominated for an Oscar.
Yep.
It should have won. I to this day, when it hits at I think the third verse, when the violins hit in,
Oh yeah,
I get shivers every single damn time. It is so fantastic.
I'm looking it up right now.
All right.
You guys continue on about the. So actually, let me ask you a question then, since we're talking about this. Oh wait. All right.
I bet you it's a song.
The song lost to "It Goes Like It Goes" from Norma Ray. Exactly.
Never heard it.
Oscar bait movie.
It's an Oscar bait song. It's really interesting when you think about it too, that there's the Muppets movies have only won one Academy Award in its entirety.
Oh yeah.
In 2011, and it wasn't even for the best song in the movie.
No.
That was we'll talk about that one. Spoiler alert, at the end of all this, we're talking Muppets 2011. We'll bring that up because that was a weird Oscar year for songs. Favorite cameo?
Let me look through the list here.
Oh jeez.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Oh, may I?
I feel like his. I talked earlier about how the cameos are just there. They do their thing and then they leave. He's got an extended cameo. He and Mel Brooks have extended cameos. They were allowed to do stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
But just he's so fantastic because that's such a Steve Martin character.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody.
Sniff the cap.
Would you like to sniff the bottle cap? Yeah. They gave people the cameos. They gave people made sense for their character. Their personalities.
Yeah.
They gave them characters that didn't clash with what they do.
Yeah.
I love his tiny little shorts too.
Yeah.
Just everything about that scene. When Kermit says, "Okay, you can go now." Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, they're definitely treating this goofy theme restaurant that's kind of like Bugaboo Creek meets German food, and treating it like it's a very fine restaurant.
Well, yeah. Well, hey, that wine should be good. It cost me 95 cents.
Well, it's the sparkling muscatel, the finest wine from Idaho.
Can we have a couple of straws? I anticipated.
Well, they got to do that so that they can do the Muppets drinking trick.
Yeah.
Right.
They need straws for that.
I love that cameo. Some of the other cameos I didn't quite care for the Bob Hope cameo. Mainly because I don't find Bob Hope funny. I did like the Richard Pryor cameo though.
Richard Pryor was fun.
Yep.
With the balloons. We got a return of Carol Kane's Myth.
Yep.
For a second one. Again, perfect use of cameos in a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great running gag. I think I prefer the Hare Krishna running gag even better.
I didn't know, you know what, and I probably noticed it before, but I think, was it Katherine? Did you bring this up yesterday about the sign in front of the church, or was it you?
I brought it up.
Okay, you brought it up. Yeah,
that wasn't it. I wasn't on that text thread, but yeah, no, that's.
I knew about the two Hare Krishna spoken words,
ones.
But I didn't realize that outside the Electric Mayhem Church lost.
Reverend
Hare Krishna.
Reverend Hare Krishna.
Yep. Yeah, they do love their running gags, but one of the Muppet rules was that you don't push it past 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I love though that Kermit brought it up immediately. Like, oh great, it's a gag.
It's a running gag. And it sets you up for the myth coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although that one was, I think they only did 2 of that one.
They did 2 myths.
I said they don't push it past 3. But
right.
The myth, there was we can do 2. because they're still nearby. She could come popping out of the billboard, and that's it. But
Yeah.
yeah, the Hare Krishna one on the board, people don't necessarily see that one.
Yeah.
They
Right.
sit on the board for a minute, but you know, they they're not gonna push it down your throat and make you recognize it.
Um,
Can I say how much I love Dr. Teeth?
I feel like they gave Dr. Teeth more to do in this movie than they ever did on the show.
Yeah.
Mainly because it was always like if the Electric Mayhem, which by the way is still an amazing band name,
Yeah.
ever had needed a spokesperson, has always been Floyd.
Mm.
Yeah, well,
And
part
to
of
a
it was
far
because
lesser extent, Janice.
yeah, it was partly because of just who's performing it, because
Yeah.
Teeth is voiced by Henson and
Yeah.
performed part. You know, he's part of the performance, so like having him and Kermit in the same scene is complicated.
Yeah.
But
But they did give him.
I love the eyes and the fact that they're not actually eyelids. It's like a plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like a plastic transparent eyelid.
yeah, he's based on the musician Dr. John.
Yeah. He's based on Dr. John. Zoot
Uh,
is based on a heroin addict, and
I just love the fact that when they show up in the desert, Dr. Teeth has been doodling on the script.
yeah.
Yep.
But again, that was a great callback. They did a really good job of the callback. With how'd you know he'd be here? It said so in the script.
Yeah, it was like
Live.
exterior desert night. We knew exactly where you were.
It's such a fun meta little. It just. I love this movie. I really, really do.
I love it when this movie will break the fourth wall, but like it works because it's the Muppets.
Yeah, and the Muppet Show was always directed at camera.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So we were used to that. I don't feel like if this was like our introduction to the Muppets, like society's introduction to the Muppets, it wouldn't have worked as much if you didn't have the familiarity with the characters.
Yep.
But yeah, I think song wise, I mean, I love Moving Them Right Along. It's a great road song.
That one's also got fun visuals.
Yeah. Back There Someday is a really sweet song. I forgot how much I like that song.
Yeah.
I think they repeat that in Muppets from Space, right?
I don't think they do it, but they're definitely hearkening back to that whole sense.
Okay.
Of that they're going back to the Gonzo felt happy in the sky and he's looking at the stars, and so they definitely use that in Muppets from Space.
Yeah. The finale song was also fantastic.
Yeah.
Going from the Magic Store to just the reprieve of Rainbow Connection was it was fantastic.
And also, I hope that something better comes along. That one for me is the most technically brilliant song because it's Jim Henson singing with Jim Henson.
Yeah.
So he would have to record Ralph's song, and then have someone else do either Ralph or Kermit, and then he would have to do that, and then.
Yeah, well, they pre-recorded the music, obviously.
Yeah. But
and then so they recorded that on multiple tracks and then played it on set, and he mouthed to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they Rolf has to be operated by two people anyway because you've got somebody on the hands and somebody in the head.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Kermit is also two people because you've got one person doing the mouth and one person doing one of the hands.
Yeah.
That was probably Steve Whitmire's first experience with Kermit, actually.
Yeah, Whitmire actually, I think this might have been his first gig with the Muppets. There are a ton.
He was on the show working, but yeah, it wasn't until after this, I think, that he really started getting characters that he got to do more often.
And
yeah.
Apparently, Steve Whitmire did appear as a cameo as a man in the Bogan County Fair.
Okay.
And Melinda Dillon was actually the woman that I think
someone with the balloons.
Yeah. What's his name? Elliot Gould.
Oh, okay.
I think Melinda Dillon was the woman that Elliot Gould gave the balloon to.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And actually, going through the IMDb cast list, apparently Tim Burton did uncredited puppet work on this.
Oh, I think I did hear that before. But
I-
they got like especially for the end scene, they had to go to the Puppeteers of America and get like 139 people on board.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To fill in this giant pit of every Muppet that had been created up to that point.
Oh yeah, there was Muppets, there was Sesame Street, there was the World of Gorch was in there.
Yep.
There.
You know what's funny too, because you bring up that other scene, but the scene in the movie theater at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it's funny because I'm like, I'm scanning all the characters. I'm like, you weren't in this movie. You weren't in this movie. You weren't in this movie. Who the hell are you people?
I love how
they're in the show.
I love when Harry says like, "Hey, can I be in this movie?" Maybe next time, Harry. And he does show up in the second movie.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, it's also interesting too because like New Zealand had just been introduced. I think in the season that came right before the movie came out.
Yeah,
and
that would be season 2. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like 7 years old. I had no idea how movie and TV was done or how far in advance things were filmed. It like blew my mind. I'm like, how did they get him so fast into this movie? Because I am an idiot.
Hold on, I just thought of something. At the beginning, is it Sweetums that takes the chair that like Miss Puggy was trying to save?
No, it was one of the other big
Okay
monsters.
All right, good. But
that danced with one of the many Broadway actresses on the Muppet Show.
I did love Miss Piggy's line there. Like, I was trying to save you a seat, but somebody took it.
Yeah, and fortunately, our inclusions of Robin were left minimal.
I like Robin. I know he's not everybody's favorite, but I really like him.
He's fine in small doses.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
I could accept that.
When I was growing up and I was like a kid watching it, I was like, oh, Robin feels like me. So
yeah, okay.
I always had a connection with him.
Okay, that's fair.
You got Betsy Bird in there.
Yeah, there were a lot of like obscure Muppets in there.
And Big Bird.
Yep.
I'm counting that as a cameo. That was a great cameo.
Yeah.
I'm on my way to New York City to break into public television.
See, the only thing that would make that scene even better would be if they had played it from like the alternate, like from Big Bird's version, Big Boy's point of view, and Hold That Bird or Follow That Bird.
Follow That Bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
that would
have
have
the
fun.
same scene but flipped it for Follow That Bird.
It would have been fun, but Follow That Bird is set years after the Muppet movie, so it sort of doesn't make sense because he's been living there and established and everything.
Oh, okay. That's too bad because that would have been a really cool connection.
Yeah. I just lost my train of thought. It was. If it comes back, it comes back. It's just.
Yep. But so I want to talk about one of the unsung heroes, Faz Fazakas. Okay, so you're giving me looks. He does have an award from the Academy and he's a puppeteer engineer. He is why Kermit can ride a bicycle. He is why Fozzie's ears do the thing. Fozzie is actually named for him.
Oh,
so he's a guy that like did a lot of the the really brilliant stuff. All of the Dark Crystal. Like he created the system that they used to do all the rod work for the Dark Crystal, Yoda, Labyrinth.
Yeah. So essentially, he pretty much innovated like puppet articulation.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah,
nice.
A lot of the facial expressions like Sweetums and stuff. Dave Goelz, however, is responsible for Gonzo because if you watch season 1, Gonzo's face isn't as expressive.
Right.
Dave Goelz started in the Creature Shop, and he felt that Gonzo looked too sad, and so between seasons 1 and 2, he built a new Gonzo that had all of the like facial features going on.
Yeah. Oh, that actually reminds me of what I was going to talk about. The whole Gonzo's whole dream. About, you'll laugh. I want to become a movie star in Bombay, India.
I want to move to Bombay, India and become a movie star.
Nobody becomes a star in Bombay, India. Yet there's a thriving Bollywood.
Yeah.
You should come to Hollywood with us. Well, sure, if you want to do it the easy way.
Well, not speaking Hindi, I think Gonzo would have a challenge. But
Right.
Gonzo would have been amazing in Bollywood.
Yes. He would have taken it by
Absolutely.
storm. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, all I can really say is I love this movie. I really, truly love this movie. I think I'm going to double check this. I'm fairly certain this made my 50 for 50 on Letterboxd. Double check that right now.
I have no idea what that is.
I made a list of my 50 favorite movies when I turned 50.
Okay.
And so I'm going to look at that right now. What are some of your parting thoughts on? Yes, it is in there. What are your parting thoughts on the Muppet Movie?
I can never watch this too many times. Like, I don't overwatch it, but I was like, I'm just gonna, last night I'm like, I'm popping it in, and it's all of the characters. I really like building the rapport. I think that they introduced the characters in the right order.
Mm.
It's like
Absolutely.
obviously you need Kermit and Fozzie have to be together. They are the two.
Yeah.
And then Gonzo's next, and then you get Piggy because you have
And
to.
Right. But
And
I
I like
mean,
the
if
fact that-
you've
I like the fact that Kermit just met Ralph, and then he gets a phone call. He goes to leave, and then the next time you see Ralph, he's in the car with them.
Yeah.
No reason for being there. He just followed along. It's
Yep.
cool.
Of course he's going to be there. He's
Right.
gonna be there. And it's also because Rolf was much more established. Like he'd been on, what was it, the Jimmy Dean show before the
Yeah.
Muppet Show happened.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
before
he was-
Kermit. He was Jim's signature character.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, yeah, he was up there. I mean, obviously, original Kermit was on Sam and Friends
Right. But
and did
yeah,
like a bunch of different roles. And
yeah.
sometimes he was Kermitino because he had a wig on, playing the girl's role in the songs.
That does remind me though of that. You like when you're talking about Rolf just showing up in the car. That reminds me of that scene in the 2011 movie.
Yep.
What about
They
Bonus
kind of do that.
That might be my favorite scene in the 2011 movie.
Yeah. Hey Rolf, you want to come join us? Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that's sort of supposed to be teasing that one out.
Yeah. I just think, and Katherine, to your point, I think it was important that they introduced characters in the right order, and they are the Fab Four.
Yep.
Of the Muppets. But yeah, I they get the most meaningful introductions, and they seem to, especially Gonzo, Fozzie, and Kermit. They just are so much fun to watch.
Yeah. That trio works well. They did a lot of different things with different characters with the three of them.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they all join Kermit, and even like Kermit starts his journey for kind of different reasons, but they're all reasons that mesh together.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Kermit, when like Bernie says, "Oh, you can make millions of dollars," like, I don't care, but you can make millions of people happy. Millions of people. So that was his driving force, and that is what's so important about Kermit, is that he doesn't care about the money. He cares about making people happy.
Yeah, Piggy cares about the money, but everybody else just cares about entertaining.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I agree.
That's, I think, is my favorite thing about the fact that Kermit, his whole goal is just get all these people around, and then just use them to make everybody happy and make them happy.
Yeah. So, final question for you: would you eat French fried frog's legs?
Oh no.
Probably not. I don't like sardines.
Okay. Have you ever had frog's legs before?
No. I'm assuming they don't bone them.
Yeah, no, they don't debone them. They taste, honestly, they taste like kind of weak chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
of course, especially if like when you French fry them, it's like you can eat calamari because it's just deep fried something.
Yeah, exactly. It's deep fried rubber.
I mean, if they took the bones out, it wouldn't be crunchy, would they?
But they're French fried, so yes, they would be.
Yeah.
And I guess I was yesterday years old when I realized that in like Doc Hopper's commercial, he said frog leg burger
On a
green bun.
On a fried green bun.
Like ever since I was a kid and watched that movie, I'd always thought he said fried green booger.
Oh.
I'm glad. I was so glad I had the captions on.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
It was, but the thing is, it's
That
his
makes more
deep fried
sense.
Southern accent that Charles Durning was doing for that. That I can
Yeah.
understand that. I can totally understand your
But
misunderstanding.
that's the one that's hanging you up, not frog legs au gratin. Yeah. Frog legs au gratin is one of the things on the menu.
Cheese
Yeah.
legs and chili legs, though.
yeah.
Maybe.
And
Maybe.
all I can see is frogs.
Little frogs
hopping
hopping
on
on little crutches.
Yeah, that's all I can see.
When Max is like, wait, yeah, these are frogs without legs anymore.
I like Max a lot.
I
I'm glad
just
he
Great.
did.
That actor's fun.
I was
It's
hoping
weird
he would
to
actually
see,
talk.
when you see him in other things now, because he's an old man now,
Yep.
I kind of wish that he had shown up at the end though, kind of complete his redemption arc, giving like a reward for, actually siding with them.
Yeah.
Because the last time you see him, he's just like cheering that Animal is huge, and that all the others just are running away scared.
Right.
Yeah. That's the end of that whole gang's arc. They're done.
Yeah. Now they can just make it straight to Hollywood and then get their their standard rich and famous contract.
With Cloris Leachman.
Yep.
And a very young Cloris Leachman in there.
Yeah, we watched the Cloris Leachman episode of the Muppet Show last night after finishing the movie. It's like, man, I forgot she was a soprano.
Yeah.
The fact that they had Orson Welles and they gave him one line.
That's probably all he could be bothered to remember.
That's all
Before
they
he, like,
needed. They just needed him to
lifts the-
sit there being Orson Wellesy
Yeah.
at the camera.
The standard
Before he
Richard
just got
Famous
upset and
contract.
flipped the table over like, I'm out of here.
I like that there's a standard Rich and Famous contract. I want that.
I want one of those.
That's why everybody runs away to Hollywood, right?
Yeah. Well, that was the Muppet Movie. We'd love to know what your thoughts are on please leave a polite comment below on what you think about the Muppet Movie. I am looking forward to next week, because next week we are rolling down this this highway of Muppet.
We're moving right along.
Moving right along, exactly, with the Great Muppet Caper. Another fun movie. I can't wait to rewatch that one. I have very fond memories of that one. What's that?
I think someone's checking in.
Huh?
Cool. Somebody's checking in. To Happiness Hotel.
Sorry, I'm like totally lost. So anyway, Mike, Katherine, and I host a little podcast called Geek Salad. You can check that out wherever you get your podcast. Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast, you name it, we are there. If you listen to us and you are on iTunes, give us a 5-star review, because that's all that matters in this crazy podcasting world of ours. You can follow us on the socials. We are on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast, on Twitter, Mastodon, and Hive at Geek Salad Radio. We are also here. Subscribe, like the video, because we do this every week with our retro movie reviews. You can check those out. If you love the Muppets, come back next week. If you want to see what else we've done, go back and do those. So I think that is about it. So Katherine, thanks for joining us. I can't wait to talk to you next week.
Yep.
It's so much fun. So anyway, until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Katherine.
Go forth and be nerdful. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.